Hi, this is Robert from Part Fusion Electronics. I'm going to continue on refining my giant LED. So here I have a 3D printed LED bulb. So this was printed with a Prusa MK3. So the layer height for the main body is 0.2 millimeters, and then I've made the top here 0.1 millimeters. But if you look closely, you can see that there's still a noticeable staircase effect. You can see that there's also little kind of protrusions from when the 3D printer is printing, and there's actually on this side here there's a slight line where the 3D printer kind of stopped and then started the next layer. Also, this is a relatively low facet. There's only 60 faces going around the circumference of the circle. I should have probably printed it with a higher resolution, more facets, so that's something I'm going to have to work around in the process. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to take this 3D print and I'm going to roughly sand down some of these surface imperfections. I have some sanding sticks here I've made. So this is a 220 grit sand sticks, these two. And then I also have some 400 sanding grit. So I'm going to use those to take down some of these little protrusions and to smooth out some of the ridge lines. I'm then going to use a coating product from Smooth-On, XTC 3D. So this is a 2-part resin you mix together, and then you actually brush on a very thin layer. You then brush on a very thin layer of the resin onto your 3D print, and then that will solidify, fill in some of the gaps. It will also help to strengthen the 3D model because this is only, I think, 2 layers thick. So if I take my sanding stick, 220 grit sandpaper, and I can just start along where this ridge line is, I'm starting to take down some of the protrusions. I don't really want to sand all the way down smooth because I'm going to use the XTC to fill in the details. I'm just taking the main protrusions and the ridge lines out as much as possible. Okay, I'm going to continue sanding and I'll come back in a bit. So I'm back after about half an hour of sanding. You can see there where I've taken most of the high parts down. So I haven't sanded down to the bottom of the facets. So I should have printed at a much higher resolution or higher number of facets. So I'm going to have to fill those in rather than sanding it down. One thing I remembered while I was sanding is that I had made these custom sanding blocks that are the same radius as the inside of the LED, just a little bit thicker because of the sandpaper. This allowed me to not have to concentrate too much on over sanding in a particular spot because the radius here matches the desired radius. We can see there I've only sanded just to take the tops of the edges off. I'm going to start working on the resin now, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off the surface just with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle here, just to get rid of any greases and any of the dust. And on the bottom I have our small hole. These two are for the legs, but this is a 6mm hole that allows me to put a dowel on so that it can hold the bulb without kind of touching the part that I might be coating in resin. So the XTC resin is quite easy to use. There's detailed instruction sheets, and Smooth-On have a lot of YouTube videos. So it comes as 2-part resin. You've got a part A and a part B. So you can mix it by volume or mix by weight. The ratio is here. It's 100 parts A to 42 parts B. So now that I've hopefully mixed my resin long enough, what I just do is paint on a very thin layer of the resin. The resin will fill in all the gaps or all the layer lines. So I've applied a thin layer or a very thin layer of the resin onto the LED, onto all the relevant surfaces of the LED. So this now needs about 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours to cure fully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang it from a table, and so any drips will go to the tip of the LED, and I'll avoid kind of build up on the underside of the lip. So it's now morning and the resin has had time to cure overnight, so it's feeling a lot harder. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand back some of the resin to get the surface smooth again, and then I'm going to apply at least 2 more coats of the resin, maybe 3, and then I'll move on to the next step after that is cured. Thank you. Bye bye.